Sometimes you have to slow down in order to gain momentum. Hey Jewel fam, I'm so glad to be back. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for being here. You know how I feel about you. If you are new to this channel, you are so welcome to the family. I hope that you stick around. All the people that we look up to, all the people that we think their processes are like great and has worked for them, they took the time to explore it. They didn't just get there. They explored it. They allowed themselves, they gave themselves the permission to explore it so that they can find and streamline their process. And then now they present it, they're like, oh, this works. Yes, it works, but is it going to work for everyone? Or does it just work for them and a particular type of person? I think that's where the question is, because most of the times we hear that it works, and yes, it works, we see the result, and so we feel like, oh, well, maybe that's the only thing that works. That's the only way that works. But there are other ways that will work if you give it permission, if you allow yourself to explore it. 2 days ago, I decided to go for a walk. This is a walk that I do quite often. However, I find that whenever I go for a long walk, I get this sensation in my whole body, and it normally will start from my thigh, and it feels like I've got caterpillars crawling underneath my skin. It's the most uncomfortable thing that I have to experience whenever I go for a walk. So usually what I would do is, when I'm walking and I start to feel the sensation, automatically I feel like, okay, Ida, you need to run, okay? Because usually I've got like a long way to go. So what I'll do is I'll start to sprint. And my goal is, let me sprint so that I can rest. At least by the time I rest, I've covered a bit of the distance. But what happens is, when I sprint, the intensity of that sensation increases and it becomes unbearable. But I know this in my head, so I make a decision and I'm like, okay, cool, Ida, let's go. And I'll sprint, and then the intensity will build up and I need to stop and rest. Now, when I stop and rest, it takes me between 5 to 10 minutes for the sensation to settle down and reset back to some form of normalcy. And then I will begin to walk again. Repeat the whole process. Start walking and then feel the sensation and then sprint, rest. So this has been the cycle. This has been my way of kind of getting through it. So it was the same thing yesterday. I was repeating that same process, but I got to a point where I thought, no, there's got to be a way, because this can't be that every time I have to go for a walk, I'll need to sprint and then relax, recover. It was just too much. So I thought, okay, how about if I slow right down? So I started to slow right down. I'm talking 1, 2, literally so slow. And then I recognized that the sensation, even though it was still present in my body, the intensity was coming down as I walked slowly. And so I continued to walk slowly, and I had gotten to a point where the sensation had calmed right down, just as it would if I was going through the recovery process. And then I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, what about if I start trying to pick up the pace a bit? I wonder what will happen. So I started to pick up the pace a tiny bit, and then it's still okay, and then I'll pick it up to a place where, okay, I'm now walking and it's fine. And then I thought to myself, I'm like, oh my God, this whole time I was just thinking, no, let me bolt, let me literally sprint so that I can, 1, get to my destination, and 2, kind of have control over the situation. So yeah, because I had it in my mind that I need to have control over this situation, it looked like, well, then I'm gonna sprint. I don't mind sprinting and then resting for 5 to 10 minutes. I'd rather do that than go slow. I guess the lesson for me was, most of the times we're trying to rush through things. We're trying to gain control over something when really we can allow ourselves to go with like our natural rhythm, which in this case I felt like my body already knew what to do. Like I already knew what to do in order to be able to go for the walk, but I kind of went into overdrive thinking that, you know, unless I took control over it and unless like I sprinted and like basically exerting a lot of energy, I wasn't going to get to my destination and I wasn't going to be able to go for a walk, which is like just a simple thing that I want to do. I feel like most of the things that we're struggling with, the answer is within that very thing. So had I given myself the time, the patience to be able to like actually slow down through the process instead of like just trying to get it done. Like I think basically the mindset I had is I want to go for a walk, it's so important, I just want to get it done. And so I wasn't like really taking the time to think what's the most effective way I can get it done, right? And I think most of the times we just want to get the thing done. We're not necessarily thinking about what's the most effective way for you, because it might look different for everyone. And then I recognize that, yeah, for some people, in order to gain momentum, they need to sprint. They need that sprint. They need to sprint and then slow down, recover, sprint, slow down, recover, sprint, slow down, recover. But for me, that wasn't sustainable. It's not something that's sustainable. So I have now learned that my way, which is funny because this was just like a walk, but it really correlates with like my life and how I do things, because I have tried to basically just sprint through whatever it is that I want to do. And I recognize based on reflecting that, you know, most of times in the things that I want to do, like I'll basically, like if we're using social media for example, I'd be like, okay, cool, I'm gonna post every day for 30 days. Fine, it's great, it's a good goal, but is that effective for me? Is that my way? You know, is that going to help me? Or is my way, you know, just slow down, just post, okay? Just post for the sake of posting and then pick up the pace, like by learning through the process, by recognizing that, okay, this worked, that didn't work, that, and I'm learning that mine is all about the process. It's not so much about the destination. And I know it's such a cliche because we keep saying that, but I think it's important for us to recognize what is our way, what is effective for us. Is your way the process, or is your way like you need to sprint? Like for you, it's not about slowing right down in order to pick up momentum. Maybe for you, you just start with the momentum straight away and then you rest. There's no right or wrong. It's just what is your way, what is effective for you and what works for you. But if you're finding that, you know, the whole go hustling and all of that is not working for you, maybe it's time for you to kind of peel back a bit and also look at what's effective for you. Do you need to slow right down in order to pick up the pace? Is that something that could help you? What is your way? When I got home and started to reflect on the insights that I gained from this walk, I realized that I was able to gain more focus. So all of a sudden, it wasn't just a walk anymore. It was like I had to focus on the steps that I was taking. I had to be present and tune into, you know, my body and listen to the signals, the sensation, and make sure that, okay, cool, now it's good, now do this, now do that. Whereas before I wasn't doing that. I was just like walking and just, you know, just focused on like the end goal. But slowing down really helped me to focus on the overall walk. It made me more in tune with myself because I needed to be in tune with myself in order to know, you know, whether what I was doing was working or not. And I thought that that was like quite profound. Another thing that came up for me as I was reflecting was the fact that slowing down allowed me to be more creative, in that if I hadn't slowed down, I wouldn't have started to think of other ways to fulfill this walk without it causing that uncomfortable sensation in my body. So all of a sudden I would adjust my steps. I would, try and walk a certain way. I would like change, the position that I was walking. Like I was trying to find new ways of walking, of doing the same walk that I had done so many times, but there was this level of newness to it. There was this form of creativity that wasn't present before, because again, I was just focused on, let's just get it done, mate. Like, let's just get it over and done with, which I quite like. And I guess overall, it was just more effective because my goal was to go for a walk, right? My goal was, just get some steps in, do this walk that was going to make your body feel good. It was really about elevating my mood. It wasn't like this thing that I wanted to achieve, it wasn't like, oh yeah, let's go. No. And I feel like me kind of sprinting through it and, trying to like power through it, that was more focused on like trying to achieve something, right? Whereas when I slowed right down, my focus now was on effectiveness. It was on the actual purpose of my walk, which was to increase my mood, to actually stop and have a look at what's happening around me. I began to notice some of the insects that were flying around, like butterflies, and I started to notice how the sun was feeling on my skin. I started to notice like the beautiful trees and just the nature, and like it just felt more, it just felt more precious. It just felt like I was actually being effective at what it is that I wanted to achieve, which was get out, get some sun on your body, enjoy nature. That was the purpose of my walk. So I just feel like slowing down for me, it is generally very helpful and effective in my life. It's just I don't do it enough, I don't think. And so now I'm wanting to like do that more consciously now, more intentionally. Like actually I'm making that my process. Like this is how I do things. I slow down, and that it's okay, I think for me, this walk and my experience really taught me about why it's important not to like look at how other people are doing it. When the doubt begins to creep in and I feel the need to maybe compare myself to other people, or like look at how other people are doing it, I'm basically now thinking of ways that I can equip myself, which is reminding myself that, Ida, remember, this is like a new lesson for you. So can you continue practicing and just be consistent with practicing instead of like, looking at how other people might be doing it. And I know that sometimes that could be the challenge because we're so used to having it done a particular way, and so we kind of feel like it needs to be done in that way, and that if we're doing it another way, either we're wrong, like we make ourselves wrong, or we make ourselves doubt our process. But then the interesting thing is our process could become someone else's process. Like who knows, me sharing this could give someone else the permission to start exploring this. But if you don't allow yourself or give yourself the permission to explore your process, you're not gonna know it, and you're not gonna be able to maybe talk about it to someone else and also give them the permission to do it. Yes, there is a part of me that questions that. That's like, oh, but like you do want to get results. Yes, I do want to get results, But I think I'm really learning that everyone's way is different. Like everyone's process is going to be different, you know? So I'm not going to let how I've seen it happen for other people stop me from actually exploring my process. And there's definitely a reason why I'm learning this lesson. There's a reason why I had this thought of, oh my God, okay, so this is what's happening. So basically this is something that I'm starting to implement in my life, because what's the point of, you know, being shown something or learning something and not practicing that, you know? So I thought about what are ways and what are some things that I do in my life that I can streamline by using this new process, so to speak. When I think about this type of slow living, the first person that comes to my mind is Rick Rubin, who is someone that I've kind of, you know, grown an interest for, where he just lives a life where he's not in a rush. It's like he just trusts in his ability to work through everything with his type of slowness. Like and I think it comes down to like just having this deep trust within yourself that your way works. And you know, whenever I listen to him, he's kind of like, for him it's not about, you know, what's already out there, but it's about him tuning in and kind of understanding his flavor, understanding what works for him, and then doing more of that. And I think that's so admirable, where it's like, could we allow ourselves to live a life that we're so tuned into ourselves that we know what works for us and we're not willing to compromise, and we rather spend our time and energy doing more of the fine tuning instead of like learning any other person's way. It's just so beautiful, and I think that's something that I wanna practice more. I feel like the way I have already lived my life, at least the last 5 years, has been helpful, but I think I've spent majority of the time trying to look at other people's way in order to find my way, instead of like tuning into myself to find my way and then continually fine tuning my way. And yeah, no, that's where I feel like I am, and I feel like that's what I'd love to invite you into as well. But yeah, it's so beautiful to live a life where you're like, no, I'm doing it my way, and my way is fine, and you're so confident within that. So yeah, I wonder what will happen if you too allowed yourself to tune into yourself and to explore, you know, your way. I hope that you got something out of this video. Do share and let me know what your thoughts are. I'd love hearing from you. Here we chill, we heal, and we vibe. So you're welcome to the community. Bye.